set up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council, for the kind invitation to introduce ourselves to some of y'all and tell the rest of y'all, make sure y'all remember how fabulous we are. I mean, I think you know, but I'm Sherry Morris. I'm a board member of Art Sandy Springs. I'm joined by some of my fabulous compatriots, Gar Muse, who is our president, Melissa Patterson, who was the incoming president in June, Dina Chumney, our highly capable executive director. Oh, here's the clicker. We are a 501c3 formed in 2007 to bring fine art into the public realm of our city. And since then, we have added art education, temporary art exhibitions, and events to our plethora of programs that we do. We help the city write, why is it there? We help the city write the public art plan called the Art in Public Places Plan, and that incorporates all of the programs that you see on the screen, and I will go through each of them individually tonight. But Gifts for the City, in which we donate art to the city and we inspire others and coordinate donations from others, art to the city. The annual Arts Walk competition, which is a sculpture competition that we did for several years and hope to bring back in future years. The Abernathy Arts Center. City Capital projects. We got to work on the first one with Councilman Paulson and team in the last couple of years, the beautiful veterans sculpture that you see across the street in the new Veterans Park. And those are intended to go into new build projects of the city. That's when the city does a capital project, there's an opportunity to put public art in it. Quarterly exhibits at the City Hall Gallery. We saw a few of you there the other night. Thank you very much for attending. And the City Springs Collection, which is kicking off this year, and it is for the interior of this building, and I'll go through that because I'll go through that in a little more detail. So Gifts for the City. We donate art to the city. We coordinate donations from others, whether it's a person, a family, a corporation, and we actually solicit those, ask people to make those donations, tell them it's a good thing to do. These are displayed throughout the city. We're very opportunistic. When something comes up, we try to make it happen. We then work with council and Parks and Rec and city manager's office, like where could this have a nice home in the city? Where will it look the best, do the most good? We have so far given 18 sculptures and a few pieces of two-dimensional art to the city. The art we have given to the city is valued at just under $450,000 over the years. We started by thinking we could raise money every year and buy a sculpture or two. In the first 4 years of our existence, we were able to buy 4 sculptures there at the library. Subsequent to that, we got a lovely grant from Northside Hospital and teamed with Sandy Springs Conservancy to create the Playable Art Park at Abernathy Greenway. This was an iconic national project. People had not done that before. Introducing children to fine art, to sculptures that they can play on, play with, that inspire play. We got national press. We got press. Somebody called from Budapest and said they had seen the article and were really impressed with it. So that was a nice thing, and Sandy Springs, City of Sandy Springs got a lot of good recognition. It was named the best new park in the city of Atlanta in the year that it was installed. More recently, we continue. There's a few gifts, maybe 1 or 2 a year that we're able to arrange. You see Solstice, the beautiful stainless sculpture that is in City Springs on the outside, that we coordinated through a group called the Cornerstone Donors that just were an ad hoc group put together to purchase that piece. And then you see Moon Man Moves to the right. He was one of the finalists in our sculpture competition one year, and he was just a lot of fun, and the city's budget ran out before he could make the cut, and so Art Sandy Springs dug in our pockets, the board, and bought that piece. And he is at Hammond Park. So the way we were and continue to do it is really good, but very slow. We're a built-out city with a whole lot of visual energy. shall we say. And to try to do one small sculpture a year to build a city collection would be forever. The city joined us in the funding in 2016, and we are very grateful for that. And we have a $60,000 budget that gets approved in the operating budget every year. And that has been spent on the annual Arts Walk sculpture competition. It's produced as part of the public art plan. And the first exhibit was put in place on City Green in 2018. The way that works, we start by creating a list of target artists. And that's a lot of what we do. We know and make sure we know the sculptors and the muralists and the painters and the weavers and that sort of thing so that we are ready to go out to the right group when there's an opportunity for art. So a list of target artists, we put out a call for entries. Arts and city employees from city manager's office and Parks and Rec screen. We get maybe about 120 entries a year. And we screen those and bring them down to 40 or 50 that are good art. And then there's a jurying, and that is Art Sandy Springs and some folks from the city council and staff, and some luminaries from the art world every year. We invite outside jurists to join us. And we make a recommendation to city council, and a piece or up to 4 pieces get purchased. We then work to transfer those to their permanent homes in the parks, in the plazas, and 20 sculptures have been purchased by the city through that program. So we've purchased 18 or caused other people to, and the city's purchased 20. Abernathy Arts Center, most of you know that program. That building was Fulton County after the city was formed, and Fulton County abandoned the programs in that building. It sat fallow for years, and the city was then able to procure that. And we are under a contract with an annual grant, which also oddly happens to be $60,000, to program that. Oops. We teach, why is it so slow? There, now it's going to go fast. We teach 240 classes a year, over 1,000 students. We do several gallery exhibits and artist talks. We do fundraising events to bridge the funding gap between the $60,000 grant and what it takes to really run and staff the place. And we're very excited because sometime this year we will open a new facility there, a ceramics studio with a couple of classrooms in it, and that will change the game. We really can only do 2-dimensional pieces there. Right now we have 2 classrooms and the gallery area. And then ultimately we will add glass fusing to that building, but we have to buy a kiln for that first, so we are out looking for grants for that sort of thing. We are able to get grants from other organizations and sometimes from the city to do special things. Another program there is summer camps. They're very popular. We host over 400 children between the ages of 6 and 12 every year. Do I need a new battery, or does this? No, I'm hitting that guy. Yeah, I'm hitting that guy. 400 kids, they love it. And Dina and her staff do a great job. It's just energy and fun. And this year we did get a grant through Parks and Rec for scholarship programs. So that's nice. And we've just offered that. We've opened up camp registrations in this last week. And we've had, I think, already 3 scholarship students come in and be accepted. So that's exciting. City capital projects. These are budgeted as needed and as the opportunity arises when a city builds a park or a road or something of that nature. The first one we did, and it's very significant, is the Veterans Sculpture. We start here with park design input. You can't just plop a piece of art in the middle of a park that wasn't planned for it. So everything from sight lines, pedestrian sight lines and vehicular sight lines to sleeving for electricity, for lighting, the fiber optics that went into this, the weight of the piece and the footings or foundations that you're going to pour. So there's a good bit of technical planning, and we make sure that we have architects and urban planners and landscape architects and that sort on our board so that we are qualified to do that work. We then construct a list of artists. We do a call for entries. It's kind of the same program after that. We screen, and then there's a jury put together. Then we coordinate fabrication and installation. These are commissioned pieces. Whereas in the annual Arts Walk, they're pieces that people have created in their studio and they want to sell, and they sell them through competitions. So we're commissioning these, which means we've got to manage those artists and make sure they're doing the work on time, make sure that quality is there, the materials they promised us are what we're really getting. We visit their studios. If someone, the artist that did the large piece there was out in the Pacific Northwest, so we managed him through videos and FaceTime and that sort of thing. Then in this case, the funds fabulously came through private donations that the two city council persons who were working so hard on this, Councilman Paulson and Councilman DiGiulio, were able to get a couple of folks who are just serious patriots and very grateful to our country to come up with these funds. The other piece here that you see is called Three Generations. It's a lovely bronze. If you haven't been out there, it is a soldier in uniform with a folded flag for a fallen relative and his little girl by the hand, and they're looking up at the eternal flame, which is called Be the Light, which I just think it's really heartwarming to go out there and be a little introspective about that. City Gallery is one of the favorite programs. We just had an opening the other night for Black History Month, and we do this 4 times a year. The openings might have 50 guests or might have 150 guests. We sold 2 pieces out of the show the other night, so that was really nice. It's always nice when the artists sell their pieces. That really, of course, matters to them. We do feature local artists in this, and occasionally the city chooses to purchase a piece from one of the shows, which is nice. Speaking of the permanent collection, City Springs Collection has been in our plans for a good long time. We are now actually working on it. The funds from the annual Art Walk, that's $60,000, the City Council asked us last year to transfer and work on the interior for a few years before we go back to sculptures for parks and open spaces. There is, in addition to the Art in Public Places plan, which is about the outside world, there is a master art plan for City Springs, and it actually has pieces designated on specific walls and specific hallways throughout the building, and we're implementing that. The pieces, this is in the plan. I'm going to not read them to you, but we want to enhance the architect's vision, reinforce the identity of the city, engage the community in dialogue. That's a good thing. Celebrate the Chattahoochee River. You know, we have 22 miles, isn't it, of the river, which is amazing. And we want to celebrate that as it is through the design package of the building with forms and colors and imagery. And, oops. The first step in the City Springs collection is called the City Hall feature wall. Y'all may or may not have noticed that you have like a 24 by 26 inch blank wall. Foot blank wall in City Hall. And we have been working diligently for several months getting ready to pursue that piece. We're building a list of target artists. We have done that. I think we have 293 artists that we have found that we will send the call out to. The budget for this one is $85,000. There's some funds that we didn't spend on the annual Art Walk that rolled over, so staff told us to put $85,000 in this. This is, however, in this year's budget already. We presented this. Those of you who were on council last May might remember we presented this and got approval on this. So we've been working and just wanted to hold up the creative process for the new folks to join, because I'm sure you all care about the outcome of this. So we wanted to make sure you were around and with us. So we've completed the cost guidance research. We've completed the list of artists. We have a call for entries that is on city staff's desk to look at. It will then go out, screening in May, jurying in June, finalists in July. Now this will be more of a 2-dimensional piece. And so, and the wall is just a wall. It's not a steel structure. So there will be, that leads us the direction of what we would want to recommend here. Not something that's so heavy it's going to rip that wall down or have high installation costs or any danger to it. And Rusty has said he wants a huge piece. I want a huge piece too. I'm with you. So this should be a significant and important piece when people walk in the front door of City
It will
Hall.
be our Sistine Chapel.
I'll give Michelangelo a call.
He's still working.
He's on our list, isn't he? You did get Michael. Okay. All right. Design approval, fabrication, and hopefully the unveiling in March. The rest of City Hall, it will be two-dimensional, more, normal-sized paintings throughout. Again, there are 29 locations on the third floor. You see the imagery here that we are recommending, very relatable, very about our community. And the third floor public spaces will be pieces purchased by the city. We will curate and make recommendations until the 29 or so are fulfilled. But also for the staff areas, we are soliciting gifts for the city. So we're bringing, our several programs together to complete the beauty of this building. And I think it'll take 2 or 3 years to get that done, personally. And then back to other things. So, are there questions? Are there comments?
Questions or comments?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Ford.
Thank you so much for all that your organization does for the city. I had a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe to us how, or if it's possible, for art to be planned along with some of the pathway work, trail segmentation work that is happening? Is that something that's been discussed?
Yes, and thank you for that. We are definitely discussing it with staff. I think we're in general agreement that we need to do that. Interestingly, the wonderful boardwalk at Morgan Falls, nobody was really thinking about art when that was initially designed and when the easements were negotiated. And then Sandy Springs Conservancy bought one of our pieces, which has a 4-by-4 foot base, and city staff is having to go back and negotiate a little addition to the easement. So we are very interested in being at the table, the transportation plan, which the trails will be in, the comp plan, if there's a park plan pursued, being at the table to just kind of have, our sacred agenda and help make sure that there's land for it. Make sure if there's going to be something like pieces along the trail, maybe we sleeve under the macadam when it's poured, and so we can slip utilities through there and light it, that sort of thing. Thank you for asking. Yes, we very much have participated and want to participate in the planning.
And in some places, we may have a little bit of retrofitting to do, like with the path.
Yes.
400, right?
But better to get it. I mean, there's no cost to what's happening now other than the staff time. It's just like, oh, man, somebody has to go back and do that little thing now, So we want to catch all that up front. Mm-hmm. And there are also opportunities as these things are planned. If there's a wall that would normally just be, let's buy some cast stone and put it on it, it's probably cheaper to do a mural. And certainly more impactful. So if we're at the table, or benches out of catalogs aren't that cheap, and it may be that we could commission an artist to do 4 benches instead of buying them out of a catalog, and they may be the same price. It may be a little bit more. We might need to get some donations or whatever. But there are lots of opportunities, bus shelters and benches and walls and that sort of thing, to just make them artistic instead of the normal thing.
And then I also appreciated what I think you described as a policy point, that for the art that's in the public parts of this building, so including the third floor, that's where city funds are being used. But the staff areas, which are more private and not accessible to the public, those are donated items.
Yes, they are. And if you're going to curate a really great art collection, it's got to be curated, so you have to purchase it. If we just ask for donations for the third floor, you're going to have all kinds of different styles and sizes and things that don't hang well together. We may get a donation that happens to work on the third floor, in which case we would recommend that be used there. But really, it's the more the one-offs. Somebody's selling their larger house and they have 4 pieces they want to give us. They could work really well in a staff conference room or a hallway or something. They don't have to be curated like your public spaces.
Thank you.
Mr. Chinsky.
So I'm really glad you're here because I actually had a couple of constituents ask, even this week, about the water tower on Mount Vernon behind the new Hillcrest development. I mean, you can see that thing when you're landing at the airport.
Yes.
So has there ever been discussion about using public art to decorate the water tower?
We very much want to do that. We've had communications with the developer of that project to see if there are some funds from them. I think the city, I don't want to get over my head here because city manager and Rusty probably have a little more current information than me.
It's owned by the city of Atlanta, and they have not consented to allow the city to do any painting on there. I have asked multiple times. It is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I didn't want to get out ahead over my skis, but we would very much like to. And with that information, I will go ahead and see if I can ask the developer, like, if they're willing to lean in financially, how much? Because sometimes the availability of money can help. We'll see. Never hurts. Never hurts. And then a lot of the conversation has been about whether the city of Atlanta's logo goes on the water tower or Sandy Springs. Do I understand that?
There's other factors as well.
There are other factors. That's my position. Yes,
Okay.
we'd
No, thank
love
you.
that. It is an iconic size and location for sure. Well, we appreciate y'all. We hope y'all appreciate. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions for you. The scholarships that you mentioned, do you have a sense of how many students you can that you all will be able to support in the summer?
There will be 56.
56.
Students.
Okay. And how are you all promoting that? Is it on your website or?
It is on our website. It is on the city's camp website. We're promoting it through all our marketing efforts.
Okay.
And so far, we've gotten a lot of good applicants.
Yep. And the call for entry for the feature wall will also be on the website, I assume, or how will you
Yes,
put
well,
that out?
on the website. We do a formal call for entries.
Okay.
Because one of the things we've done is vetted that the artists have worked with institutions, colleges, cities. They're of the ilk that we can trust that they will actually produce the piece and nothing horrible will happen. And so we don't really publicly put it out there in general, but that's.
Okay. And if I'm looking at your timeline, you all have already done your vetting.
Yes,
think.
we've got the
Yeah, you
290
targeted.
something that we want to reach out to. And then the call for entries, as far as the website, they get posted in these programs, these software programs, and the artists are always going in there looking, kind of like when you guys do a bid package for some paving or something, those contractors know to go looking in the different, I call them software packages, programs, to look for opportunities to bid a job. The artists are doing the same thing.
Got it. Last question for you. I occasionally get, approached by artists, and they're saying to me, do you know of any opportunities for me to do a mural? And the question I have for you is, does the reverse sometimes happen with Art Sandy Springs, where you have maybe entities that are in search for an artist to do something, and they approach you guys? Does that ever happen?
We rarely get approached by,
Okay.
I'm going to say corporate money, and I will say
Right.
something about Sandy Springs that those of us who've worked civically here for years know. There are certain cities that are a city with an edge, and then it's rural. And that city has corporations that belong emotionally to that city. Sandy Springs is one, as we know. It's a great one, but a string of municipalities in the Atlanta metro area. So our corporate, and I've been working civically, Rusty, for almost 30 years, from SSRI days. The large corporations with money that are in Sandy Springs don't necessarily relate to that. They're at a certain exit on 400 because their employees can get that or whatever. So group after group after group, including the city, has worked really hard to not really turn up a lot of dollars at the end of the day. They're more likely to give in Atlanta or something, the corporations. So we rarely get approached with somebody who has money burning a hole in their pocket. We get approached by the artists a lot. And please send them to us through Dina, because you never know.
Yeah, I'll be
And again, as we work with your staff and your planners on the upcoming plans, we will see opportunities there. And we'll say, there's an opportunity to not buy a bunch of expensive stone and to instead just plan it as a mural. Leave it as a concrete wall and or as something else, as a mosaic, as, whatever it might be. So those would be great opportunities.
Any other questions, input? Sherry, thank you. We appreciate everything that Art Sandy Springs does for the community. You're very engaged. We appreciate everything you're doing at the Art Center, all the things you do to help us with art around here. It really makes a difference in our community, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else that council wants to discuss during the work session? All right. Then we will move on to the regular order. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sandy Springs City Council to order for Tuesday, February the 17th, 2026. Will the city clerk please make the announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a reminder to those in attendance, please silence all cell phones or other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide public comment at a City Council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of the meeting. Those cards are always available online or at the chamber entrance. Those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Councilmember Melody Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Frank Roberts. Here. Councilmember Mary Ford.
Here.
Councilmember Andrew Chinsky.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment cards?
Yes, we've received 9 public comment cards this evening.
All right.
All right, so I'll call up the speaker and whoever's following so they can prepare to come down to the podium. First, I have Paul Termesian. I'm sorry. And he'll be followed by Aaron Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, dedicated and capable employees of the City of Sandy Springs. The badge I'm wearing is as a member of the Citizens Leadership Academy, through which I have learned how to be even prouder of the city that I love because of the dedicated people and capable people working here. I'm here to speak because I am opposed to the proposed ordinance regarding the city truck route and the inclusion of Johnson Ferry and Abernathy roads on that ordinance. My opposition is based on what appears to be perhaps not enough time for the research to be done to show us the potential impact of accepting or not accepting those streets. I just don't think we know what the impact would be if we put those streets on or if we exclude them. Impact to traffic, to health. Research I've done says increased traffic can increase asthma in children. Particles from diesel fuel can have impact to the environment and certainly to our property values. Increased traffic could also create accidents. I would propose that if we are going to consider this, that we measure the current levels in those areas, anticipate what would be acceptable levels, and then determine how to measure the actual levels. And if we exceed the acceptable levels, that we understand the cost to correct it. So with that, I submit my opposition to this and hope that you'll consider removing those streets from the list. And I appreciate the time you've given me.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Aaron Baker, who will be followed by Tara Overzat.
Mayor Paul, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Aaron Baker, and I live off of Dalrymple. I've lived in Sandy Springs for a combined total of over 20 years, and I attended Woodland Elementary off of Spalding. And tonight, I'm asking the city to publicly clarify whether flock camera data is being shared with ICE and to adopt a clear policy that it not be shared without a judicial warrant. I'd like to talk about stability and public safety. When our neighbors in Sandy Springs are afraid that any interaction with the city could put them on ICE's radar, this has a chilling effect because they stop doing normal everyday things. They avoid going to their churches and places of worship. They avoid going to the doctor. They avoid reporting crimes. They avoid cooperating as witnesses. They keep their kids home and they disappear from public life. And this disappearance does not make us safer. Fear does not create safety. Trust does. And if trust breaks down, it makes all of us less safe. Because witnesses will go silent and it becomes easier for real criminals to operate. And I wish this was a simpler conversation. If this was only about, if we were only talking about violent criminals with warrants, I wouldn't be here right now. But the truth is that ICE isn't going after violent criminals. They're going after working people, parents taking their kids to school, neighbors heading to work, people showing up to court to comply with the law, and longtime residents like Rodney Taylor, a double amputee who came to this country for medical treatment and whose only offense is a paperwork issue. And on top of all of that, they're going after the people who have the courage to speak up. But in America, our governments are not entitled to the respect and trust of the people. And the way we build that trust is the same as it's always been, through transparency. It's absolutely essential for the basic function of democracy, for the people to know what the government is doing and how the people's money is being spent. And that is why we must know if the city of Sandy Springs is sharing data for the Flock Camera Network with ICE. Because a community where families live in fear is not a stable community. And a city that won't draw clear lines between local policing and federal surveillance is inviting the exact kind of abuse of power that Americans have rejected since the founding of this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Overzad, who will be followed by Cheryl Barlow.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Dr. Tara Overzat, and I live at 303 Dunwoody Chase, Atlanta, Georgia, which is in Sandy Springs. I'm here to gain clarification and to be a voice for the people in Sandy Springs who need to hear where the Sandy Springs Police Department stands in keeping us safe from the intrusion of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, commonly known as ICE, should their presence grow further in our city. Yesterday, a beloved educator at Hess K-8 in Chatham County was killed in a car crash. Her name is Dr. Linda Davis, and she was a special education teacher. She was killed due to ICE deciding to pursue, at dangerous high speed, Oscar Vasquez Lopez, suspected of not being a documented U.S. citizen or resident. Chatham County Police Department's standard operating procedures has defined that such high-speed pursuits should only be done when a violent felony is committed and the road conditions, weather, and environmental conditions are favorable. Of note, not being a documented U.S. citizen or resident is a misdemeanor and not a violent felony. Local authorities have made it clear that the Chatham County Police Department was not aware of the ICE operation until after the crash, and that they were not involved in the pursuit. For many in communities across Georgia and across this country, this tragedy raises questions about when and how federal enforcement actions are conducted on our streets, especially when those actions intersect with our everyday public life. Now, my husband and I contribute to the Sandy Springs Police Foundation, and I have retired law enforcement officers on both sides of my family. I deeply respect what our police do for our community. I'm here to ask SSPD to publicly clarify two things. First, that SSPD is not providing flock camera data or other local law enforcement information to ICE for the purposes of immigration enforcement. Our residents deserve transparency about how technology like flock cameras are used and whether that information is shared with federal immigration authorities. It is essential that people know policing technology in our city is used strictly to protect public safety and not to create fear in immigrant communities. Second, that the Sandy Springs Police Department reaffirms its commitment to all residents so that no one feels afraid to go to work, to school, to the doctor, or to places of worship. When community members are afraid to call for help, to report a crime, or simply live their daily lives without fear of immigration enforcement, public safety suffers as a whole. Individuals, families, and neighbors are harmed when they cannot access community services nor early intervention for health concerns. Dr. Davis's death, along with the deaths of several other bystanders just these last few months, causes mourning and alarm. Again, I respectfully request that the SSPD clarify their stance on flock cameras and ICE in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barlow.
Who will be followed by Ginger Bradshaw.
Good evening, Cheryl Barlow, 250 Landfall Road. I'm the president of the Breakwater Homeowners Association, representing 110 households. I'm here to oppose the Abernathy and Johnson Ferry Road corridor as a new designated trucking route. The main argument we heard is these roads are already a de facto trucking route, so why not make it official? The residents of Breakwater disagree. There are rarely trucks at rush hour. We do see semis between the hours of 10 and 2. They are marked grocery stores, home improvement, gas tankers. They're delivery trucks, not random. It's the one thing to be dealing with deliveries, but another thing to roll out the GPS welcome mat, inviting all trucks to come through. Is there data? How many trucks actually come through now and at what times, and what does an official truck route mean for more volume? Then there is the criteria. This is the ARC toolkit from a few years ago for truck thoroughfare design. These best practices for urban truck routes automatically disqualify Johnson Ferry Road. It says the minimum speed for a truck route should be 45 miles an hour to avoid residential areas. The speed limit on Johnson Ferry Road is 35 miles an hour because it's residential. The new 2024 ARC truck guidance that Ms. Westcott referenced removes specifications, but a lot of these things still stand. Johnson Ferry is still 35 miles an hour. Other than the bridge restrictions that were mentioned, criteria in this new document were not addressed. Again, I don't have time for all, but here's one that prohibits Johnson Ferry. Truck routes should when reasonably possible, avoid roads that pass through environmentally sensitive areas, historical districts, or areas with high concentrations of schools, community centers, parks, and residential zones. You've just described Johnson Ferry Road. It's residential. The Chattahoochee River corridor is an environmentally sensitive area. It's just over a 1 mile span. You have the day school, Abernathy Greenway, Abernathy Arts Center, the Johnson Ferry Chattahoochee National Recreation Area. This document also calls for public consultation and communication before designating a new truck route. And I quote, engaging with stakeholders, including local communities, businesses, to gather feedback and build consensus to ensure the criteria meet the needs and concerns of all affected parties. If this is the guiding document, I ask that we honor it. I sent you good questions. Breakwater residents asked about the criteria. I think it's fair to get answers with them, some public engagement. At a minimum, please defer this new truck route until we can get more information. However, we urge you to remove the new proposed trucking route for tonight's vote. Thank you for your service and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Barlow.
Ginger Bradshaw, who will be followed by Mel Mobley.
We can't allow any public demonstrations. You can support in your heart. Ms. Bradshaw. Followed by whom?
Mel Mobley.
Hi, I'm Ginger Bradshaw, and thank you for letting us speak tonight. And I will say that I don't have the regulations and the this and that and the other, because I think not allowing these trucks is just common sense. I don't think it takes a whole lot of dotting I's and crossing T's and turning this over and that and over. Sandy Springs is already a crossroads city for a lot of cars, and there's nothing we can do about that. Maybe there's nothing we want to do about it. I have a lot of friends that live in Cobb County that work in Sandy Springs, and they're certainly welcome. They drive right by my house every day. But to voluntarily add heavier trucks, and like has been said, with the fumes, if there's an accident, we've got all these new big walls with this project that's going on that I'm not that crazy about because it makes me feel closed in, but I'm told they're for safety. So vehicles don't run into off the sidewalk and down hills and into the library parking and different things like that. So if we're building walls to keep just the normal traffic that we have now from injuring more people, why would we let big trucks come on our residential areas? We've got Abernathy Greenway. I just don't think that that we need more traffic, particularly trucks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ms. Bradshaw. Mr. Mobley.
Who will be followed by Rhonda Smith.
Good evening. Mel Mobley, and I'm here on behalf of Whispering Pines Neighborhood Association, which is the neighborhood to the south of South Abernathy Park. And before pigs could fly, Fulton County appointed a Citizens Advisory Committee to work with GDOT on the widening of Abernathy Road. I was appointed to that committee with about 10 or 12 others by Commissioner Tom Lowe. We never had a hint that this would be a truck route. It was meant to be for cars. And we managed, in the place where we managed to get park, we managed to get a raised planted median. And there would never been a thought that there would be children choking on nitrous oxide while they tried to swing, use the swings and these great playscapes you saw about. And you saw from Sherry Morris. So this was never intended to be a truck route. We never had a hint of that. And this will just get worse, not better. It's reasonably foreseeable this kind of thing gets worse. May not be here. Mayor may be tending his bees in Alabama. One of you may be mayor and say, well, we never knew this truck route would be this bad, but I can almost guarantee you, having been on numerous planning commissions, on your Board of Appeals where we did not deal with traffic, but other boards and commissions, that it tends to be a traffic magnet. So I think that the neighborhoods on each side, just as we had when we designed the widening of Abernathy Road to try to make it something that looked good, we ended up with parks on north and south, that perhaps there needs to be another Citizens Advisory Committee with those neighborhoods to collect the data, to both the airborne data, but you're going to have more wash off that road in the spillways. There's a perennial stream on the south side. I've got a feeling even the federal government doesn't care about carbon-based pollution. EPD might, or GSCWW, because there's plenty of wash that goes down into that perennial stream. So I'd ask for this to be slowed down at a minimum, to involve the citizens that live on the adjacent neighborhoods on either side, to look at the pollution, the effects of pollution. There may be some benefits. Look at those. What kind of restrictions might make it livable? But I can tell you this was not the intention 20 years ago. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mobley. Ms. Smith.
Susan Kizak will be next.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rhonda Smith, 76 Long Island Place, speaking as president of both the Mount Air Springs neighborhood, which is adjacent to Johnson Ferry, and the Sandy Springs Council of Neighborhoods. The Council of Neighborhoods' mission is to enhance quality of life and ensure protection of neighborhoods in matters of policy and land use. What are the neighborhood characteristics along the proposed truck route corridor under Agenda Item 2026-048? Nearly 1 mile collectively of the linear park green space west of Roswell Road that Ms. Morris just spoke of in the work session, where children play and people walk to enjoy the outdoors. The Sandy Springs Tennis Center with over 80,000 player and spectator visits per year, and other green conservation spaces. Over a dozen mostly protected neighborhoods, some with multiple touch points of homes exposed to the roadway, plus townhome communities with front doors just feet from the curb. While the state and local maps specify the where of where trucks are allowed, it is now this council's role to also specify the what of what you are willing to allow to further impact what lies along the Johnson Ferry Abernathy corridor. The GDOT vehicle counter, just over the Cobb line inside Sandy Springs at the bridge, classifies less than 1/2 of 1% of the 43,900 average daily vehicles passing in both directions per 24-hour period as trucks over 3 axles. Yes, their data dashboard is that detailed. The counter does not tell us the origin and destination information that says exactly where these trucks came from, go to, and how many of them are making local deliveries. GPS platforms for trucks respect bridge limitations for weight and low clearances, avoid truck-restricted local roads, sequence multiple stops for minimal miles, and check that the total drive time fits within a driver's legal hours, among other constraints. If you cannot say with certainty that changing the designation of the proposed route would not create new route algorithms for software that then would allow for more trucks to navigate from Cobb or DeKalb through Sandy Springs, then you should not change this route designation. And no, truck routing GPS does not route as a rule trucks through interiors of neighborhoods to avoid wrecks and slowdowns. I corroborated this with a 30-year veteran of the trucking industry. The geometry of navigating tight turns and traffic calming is too risky and saves little, if any, time. Council of Neighborhoods asks you to remove the proposed truck route designation to ensure that no additional truck traffic impact beyond what is experienced today will be generated by the new permission the route designation would grant for the Johnson Ferry Abernathy corridor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Cusack.
Who will be followed by Judy Bowles.
Good evening. My name is Susan Kiesack. I live at 6497 Cherry Tree Lane. That's in Mount Vernon Woods. Traffic crashes are the leading cause of unintentional injury deaths in the United States. We understand there are many factors that contribute to fatal injury crashes, and we need to work together to create safe streets. That's a direct quote from Sandy Springs Traffic and Transportation Manager Kristen Westcott. It's from a December 2024 news report when the city was working on its safety action plan. That's why I'm dumbfounded by this proposal to encourage more truck traffic along Johnson Ferry and Abernathy roads. That corridor is not commercial or industrial, it's residential and recreational. I mentioned the Abernathy Greenway when I was here 2 weeks ago. A neighbor reminded me that Abernathy is also home to the Sandy Springs Racket Center. You each received an email from me on Sunday night looking at how this proposal aligns with the ARC's freight design guidelines. Long story short, it doesn't. The Atlanta Regional Commission urges local governments to avoid pushing through truck traffic onto roads which serve neighborhoods. I understand this is already a de facto truck route, but that doesn't mean we're compelled to connect the dots between Cobb and DeKalb counties. Making Johnson Ferry and Abernathy a formal truck route would add to the logistics and routing software that truckers used. A loaded semi-truck is roughly 15 to 25 times heavier than a standard passenger vehicle. So even a modest increase in truck volume could have serious safety and quality of life impacts. We have no idea how much traffic it would add to the corridor. It's a Pandora's box that we do not need to open. Instead, please fix the administrative and enforcement gaps in the current ordinance and encourage truckers to use the routes already identified by the feds and the state. Abernathy is just one exit from 285. Moving trucks is what 285 is for. When I was here 2 weeks ago, I was an army of one. Tonight I have reinforcements, people from several neighborhoods who live along this stretch of road, people who already struggle with congestion and safety concerns. One Mount Vernon Woods neighbor put it simply, the traffic volume and speed on Abernathy are already hazardous. Adding large trucks is a recipe for disaster. Earlier, I spoke about the Sandy Springs Safety Action Plan, which was approved just 9 months ago. The goal of the plan is to achieve 0 fatal and serious injury crashes on city-owned streets by 2040. Adopting this truck route directly undermines that commitment. If safety is truly the priority, this proposal cannot move forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton?
Hi, I'm Judy Bowles. I am at 455 Bridges Creek Trail in Mount Vernon Woods. My family has been in Sandy Springs for 60 years. Before 285 came up, I played. My uncle developed. We've had businesses in Sandy Springs, no big deal. I said when I could afford a home, I wanted to come to Sandy Springs. I grew up in Buckhead, but we stayed a lot at my cousin's house right down the street. But the purpose of this is this city council, y'all are all doing a great job. I'm only here to say I think some of the focus has been lost. We said it was a neighborhood, then we developed the city, and then we've lost our way by not considering the community. And that's the community of the people behind me and the community of people who live here. And we're now trying to accommodate Cobb County. We're accommodating every developer who wants to put another residence, cars, semis, you name it. But to take what we just spent money on, parks, Abernathy Greenway, for bringing it a walkable city. We want a walkable score. We want to do this for community. But now we want to say, oh, let's entertain trucks. It baffles me that we haven't done traffic engineering studies. I worked with the Berries to put up all the North Park, 10 Glen Lake, UPS, and some of the Mercedes, the widening. I have been here, done that, and I do have some scars. But what I have to say is I don't think you took the people into consideration with even putting this on without us. So I want you just to consider each truck's length and take away cars when you put a truck on there, because you take one truck might be 2.5 cars or 3. They're slower to start. They're going to put more oil on the ground, hazmat, traffic. DOT needed to think. I don't know who has brought this on the agenda, but I do think you need to regroup on it. So I could re-mention, but Mr. Mobley said it. We had a commission. We had people way back when I was a kid. My aunt and uncle worked on it hard. And I cannot believe that we have, I just have a hard time believing. It was new news to me today, and I came here saying no Jake breaks, no big walls. I have watched it happen all through Sandy Springs for 60 years. So God bless you, but I don't think we should have this on a quick fix. It is something that should be studied and through the people and set a commission for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Volz. Any others? All right, we'll close public comment. Thank you all for that. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move we approve the meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 17, 2026, regular meeting.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, February 17th.
You have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ford. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to new business, the clerk will please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2026-043, consideration of a resolution to appoint members to the Sandy Springs Board of Appeals, presented by Mayor Rusty Paul.
We have, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we have several people whose terms are expiring. Justin Soprano and Kim Gay. Kim has only been on the Board of Appeals for a short period of time. So I'm proposing to reappoint them to there since they have only served a short period of time. And we will have a couple of others that I'll be bringing next month with some new additions. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Paul.
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-043, the appointment of members to the Sandy Springs Board of Appeals.
Got a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Chinsky, that we approve agenda item 2026-043, resolution appointing members to the Sandy Springs Board of Appeals. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the resolution. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda Agenda item number 2026-044, consideration of a resolution to adopt the 2026 city priorities presented by City Manager Eden Freeman.
Ms. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. The item before you tonight is a resolution to approve the proposed priorities for calendar year 26, which will be used to inform the development of the FY 2027 budget process. You will recall during the annual council retreat, February 5th and 6th, on the first day, staff presented an update on our progress towards accomplishing the priorities, and then we had open conversation and discussion. One of the conversation points that came about in that was the addition of innovation, which there was a desire to have that underpinning and informing all of our priority areas. Just to walk through what our priority areas are and how we have added innovation. At the core of everything that we do is customer service, citizen engagement, and now we are recommending innovation, followed by public safety, then by transportation accessibility and community appearance, recreation and cultural enrichment, economic development with a focus on redevelopment, sustainable growth and environmental stewardship, and then finally, water reliability. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
All right, you've heard the report of the city manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-044, resolution to adopt the 2026 city priorities as stated.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. A second? Seconded by Mr. Roberts. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you for adding innovation, both internally, as we discussed at the retreat, within the staff and the city, as well as externally. I think this is important, and I also agree with you. It applies to all aspects of this list of priorities. So stay with it, and please keep us informed as we innovate all these different areas.
Absolutely.
Ms. Mueller.
So I went back and listened to the end of day one of the retreat. If anybody wants to do that, it's, I think, at the 7-hour and 16-minute mark approximately, and it's about 10 minutes. When we discussed this, and innovation is so important, and I know that the mayor had said at the meeting that it's more than words on paper. We have to have it in everything that we do, which we talked about, an underpinning, but it's also about a culture shift. And so we can do everything we want with the technology and the data, but if we don't have the culture to execute with that, we need both of those pieces. I mean, I spent 22 years working for a company that innovation was foremost. And so we have to have a plan not just to get ourselves positioned for innovation, but we also have to figure out how to shift the culture and get that way. So one of the things that I would like to see, and I don't know if we could do this, is that is there a way that we can have a definition of how the city will use innovation to support both the internal operations and the customer, the resident service delivery? And then also, are we putting forward an innovation action plan? So the plan that would then tie together where we are with the innovation steps that we're doing in addition to how we're going to shift the culture. And then also, I think that would also help if when we do the budgeting, if we could have an idea of what are we going to have to do from a budget perspective. We're getting into the budget season. I'm sure you've already started that. So that we have the funding we can do to actually execute, because it can't get lost just in the center of that wheel.
Let me kind of respond to that, because the city manager and I'll say this, the city manager took what she heard from the retreat very seriously. And she has already started working on some draft policies and ideas that she'll be bringing forward fairly soon, I hope, I expect. She's shared with me some of the things. So I can assure you, she's taken it very seriously, what she heard from council. And I'll let, if you want to opine and say, give them a little peek at what you're working on.
Sure. First off, I would say without hesitation that we already have the most innovative local government staff that you will find anywhere. Could we do things and think a little bit differently? Always. We always should be pushed to think new ways and to bring new innovations and opportunities to our team. I did take very seriously the conversation, and in fact went home that night and spent about 4 hours working on a concept paper for an Office of Innovation and Delivery. You'll be hearing about that as part of the budget process. It wouldn't be fair to bring that to you until you all have decided if you want to add innovation as a priority. This is that first step in that conversation. So yes, you will be hearing more about it as part of the budget process.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Paul?
Yep. Ms. Ford.
Eden, thank you for presenting these very clear priorities. I just have 2 thoughts that I'd like to share. The first is that as we get into the budgeting process, if there is a way for us to understand how our budget dollars are being applied to each of these priorities. So I think we all understand that your priorities are determined or clear in how you're spending money. And so understanding how the budget shakes out across these. Last year, I went through the budget and came up with my own analysis, and that helped me understand that nearly a third of our budget goes towards public safety, and I think that our residents appreciate that. So dollars applied. These are all nice, even buckets. Probably doesn't end up that way in the actual budget.
It's not even, no ma'am.
Yeah, that's right. And then my second comment, and I understand this probably ends up somewhere underneath of sustainable growth or redevelopment, but during the retreat, there was a healthy amount of conversation about housing and the challenges that we have here in the city. As I looked through all the presentation materials, we don't have a clear way that comes through in these priorities. And I understand that we're waiting for the next round of the study to come through for the data, and believe that we're at the point of trying to understand, well, what are the things that we can do about housing, and then how can we take some of those ideas combined with the data to set a clear goal for ourselves around what is it that we want to do about housing. So I know there's a lot to sort of sort through as we get to the details of the priorities. I wanted to call that out, that is something that came through really clearly in the conversations, but it's not necessarily represented here. I'm not advocating that we change this. I'm just raising that for awareness.
Okay.
Any others? Mr. Paulson.
Mayor Paul, thank you for allowing me to speak again. I guess I have a suggestion here. Because of the amount of time we spent on innovation, I'm asking the city manager that on a periodic basis when we have staff reports, I'd like her to talk about what the different departments are doing from an innovation point of view, so we're all making sure it's still front of mind. So that's not part of the resolution. That's just a request that during staff reports, periodically bring some of that new and innovative stuff that we're doing to the forefront.
Not a problem.
Well, she's heard a lot from me on this, so, and now you weighing in, I think that will add, she has taken it seriously. So, Dr. Kelly?
I agree.
Yep. Ooh, okay. Quick question. All right, so when we had our retreat, each of the council members received this packet.
Yes, ma'am.
I find it helpful because it just sort of breaks down the priorities into, sub-priorities. This translates to the goals that were discussed. Okay. It would actually be helpful to have this available.
So the plan is that will be reported inside Sandy Springs on a quarterly basis so that you see the progress made towards those goals. But we can easily shift that to include in the agenda materials under staff reports on a quarterly basis so that you have that information. We're also rolling out a new budget tool. You all may not realize this, but we have for many years always received the Distinguished Financial Award for our audit, but we have never received the Distinguished Budget Award. It has been a goal personally for me for us to get that. So Tony and Michael and her team have been working on that. Those goals are a direct component into us being eligible to apply for that. So they would be in the budget book, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so you're saying that each of these, like for example, customer service and citizen engagement has 9 sort of sub-bullets. Those will be in the budget?
Tied back into the budget, yes ma'am.
Okay, as well as in the inside Sandy Springs.
Or we can do it on the agenda, whichever council prefers. If you'd rather it be in a quarterly version of Inside Sandy Springs or in staff reports on agenda materials.
Yeah, I'm actually fine with quarterly because I imagine that, and Councilwoman Ford touched on this, the sustainable growth and environmental stewardship we have 7 sub-priorities, but none of them refer to housing. So that would be a good place to put that. But I definitely want to be able to track this. So thank you for that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-044, a resolution adopting the 2026 city priorities. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-45, consideration of a resolution to approve and accept a grant award from the Environmental Protection Division of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources FY 2026 Recycling and Waste Diversion Grant, and to authorize the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with Keep North Fulton Beautiful. This is presented by Urban Forester and Sustainability Coordinator William Park.
Mr. Park.
Mayor, City Council, I thank you for your time. I'm here to request that for the authorization. This has been presented previously, a little bit of background. A grant was applied and received for an amount. The original request was for $150,000. That was based on current prices and availability. The actual award received was increased from $150,000 to $174,661, which almost covers all the costs proposed for this foam densification project at the recycling center. The remaining gap has been filled by donations solicited by the North Fulton or the Sandy Springs Recycling Center. The staff recommendation is that council authorize the acceptance of the award fund and the MOU with Keep North Fulton Beautiful.
All right, you've heard the report of the Urban Forester and Sustainability Coordinator. What's the desire of council? Mr. Paulson.
There we go. I move approval of agenda item 2026-045, approve and accept the grant award from the Environmental Protection Division of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources fiscal year 2026 Recycling and Waste Diversion Grant, and to authorize city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with Keep North Fulton Beautiful.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ford. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you.
I just conferred a new degree on you.
Soon. Thank you very much. Just a basic question. As I read this, it sounds like this grant is actually fully funded, other than the little donation that comes from the other folks you talked about. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is important to know that this is a reimbursement-based grant, so funds will have to be spent first, and then reimbursements will be received from the Environmental Protection Division of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources.
As long as we get our money back, that's fine with me. Thank you.
Ms. Mueller.
So, Willie, is there any go-forward maintenance costs that would not be covered under the grant that the city would have to, or Keep North Fulton Beautiful, I guess, would have to cover?
So currently, the budget of what is approved is just for the installation, for the awning, for the upgrades to the electrical system and the installation of the actual unit. We see that the increased investment in the electricity in the awning will reduce and hopefully minimize the maintenance costs over time. But any piece of machinery like this will require maintenance, but we will always try to proceed by using the manufacturer warranty first.
Yeah, and thank you for helping. I know Colleen, I don't believe she's in the audience tonight. This was one of her big ideas to get this in, and I know that from when Councilman Paulson and Dr. Kelly and I had a tour of the center, so this was one of her big ideas on her list, and this is going to be fantastic because I know that I can't wait to be able to go recycle dense foam.
Yes, I mean, and speaking to City Manager Eden Freeman's point on innovation, this is a huge innovation for our recycling center. Many municipalities don't have this service. It's quite a privilege, and most folks have to go all the way to South Atlanta to go to CHARM or the Center for Hard to Recycle Materials, and it's quite a trek for our citizens.
Yeah, I'd like to see us do something with cartons, like soup cartons and so forth, but that's another story.
Any other discussion? Dr. Kelly.
So do you have a sense of how this will be marketed, or how people will find out once we are officially in the styrofoam or the foam business?
Yes, of course. So already the City of Sandy Springs and the Recycling Center through Keep North Fulton Beautiful have a very deep and vast emailing list. The folks who are on that list are quite invested in sustainability in Metro Atlanta. Furthermore, as a part of the requirements of this grant and our promises, there will be education and outreach. And the whole point of this is to reach a group of people that perhaps may not have thought to recycle these things before. It's one thing to preach to the choir, but to receive the maximum benefit of this new installation, we would definitely need to reach out and market this the best we can.
How long do you think it'll be before we're official?
We're official, so
assuming this passes.
If I may look at the timeline real quick, I believe we should be up and running this year, but the actual drawdown and final completion of this project will be in 2028, and that's when we will start looking at studies and self-assessments and audits.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question on whether we want to accept some money or not. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That was a wise move. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-46, consideration of an ordinance to approve the FY 2026 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Equipment Project Budget. This is presented by Intelligence and Technology Director for the Sandy Springs Police Department, Micah Patrick.
Ms. Patrick.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Before you is a memorandum requesting your consideration of an ordinance to approve the fiscal year 2026 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Equipment Project Budget. Going forward, I'll refer to this as the CVRG Equipment Project for simplicity. It is the recommendation of staff that council approve the attached budget adjustment entry to amend the CVRG Equipment Project Budget. At the December 2nd, 2025 City Council meeting, the Police Department presented an update on the CVRG Equipment Project, which was awarded in 2023 by the Georgia Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. At that time, the department addressed the changing operational needs and updated the project scope. Additionally, the department outlined the need to reallocate funds towards the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center technology enhancements. The enhancements include video wall displays, audio and control systems, and infrastructure upgrades to strengthen real-time crime monitoring and analysis. The council approved Constant Technologies, Inc. as a sole source provider at that time. The budget amendment has been approved by the funder, and the city is prepared to proceed with the purchases. The CVRG Equipment Project budget approved for fiscal year 2026 is $510,815. However, because funds are being reallocated across the full grant period, which spans more than one fiscal year, this amount includes funds not originally designated for fiscal year 2026. As a result, the CVRG equipment grant budget requires an increase of $29,517.43. This amendment will move remaining grant funds into the 2026 fiscal year, allowing the city to complete all remaining spending obligations and satisfy the remaining equipment grant requirements ahead of schedule, with the goal to close out the CVRG equipment projects before the end of the fiscal year. If council chooses not to approve of the budget amendment, the city will be unable to use the grant funds or deploy the new equipment that will be purchased. Returning or not utilizing awarded grant funds may be viewed negatively by funders and could affect the city's competitiveness in future grant applications. The alternative is to not approve the budget amendment. Therefore, the city will not be able to use the awarded funds.
Well, Ms. Patrick, you put that in rather stark terms. I'm sure you have the council's attention. All right, you've heard the report of the Intelligence and Technology Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-46, an ordinance to approve the fiscal 2026 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Equipment Project budget as stated.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-046, an ordinance approving the FY26 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Equipment Project budget. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-046, approving the FY26 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Equipment Project budget. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item. Thank you, Ms. Patrick.
This is agenda item number 2026-047, consideration of a resolution to approve change order 4 to the existing contract with Vertical Earth, Inc. as it relates to the Mount Vernon Johnsons Ferry Corridor Improvement Project, that's TS 191, and to authorize the city manager to execute the revised contract documents. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Tonight I bring to you a recommendation to approve a change order 4 to the existing construction contract with Vertical Earth Incorporated for the Mount Vernon Johnson Ferry Corridor Improvement Project, TS 191, in the amount of $55,632. Initially, the city awarded this construction contract to Vertical Earth in the amount of $15,881,593.38 on December 19, 2023. Since then, there have been 3 change orders prior to change order 4. Change order 1 in the amount of $189,598.62, approved by the city manager January 7th of 2025. Change order 2 in the amount of $242,148.25, approved by mayor and city council on May 20th, 2025. And change order 3 in the amount of $177,820.45, approved by the city manager on December 10th of 2025. Change order 4 addresses an additional fiber directional boring requirement required at this time to complete installation of traffic signals in and around Spruill Lane on the Mount Vernon Corridor Johnson Ferry Improvement Project, providing adequate bores for sizing of conduit to interconnect those traffic signals there and then back into the traffic management system as well. So with that, tonight I bring forward to you change order 4 in the amount of $55,632, and that comes as a result of investigations by the consultant, design team, and the contractor in this case to try to find the most cost-effective and schedule-sensitive response to include or incorporate in these needed changes in the interest of delivering the project.
Marty, they were not able to do the bore for what reason?
It was not originally designed at the size it was required to do. So this is a larger bore than was originally contemplated in the design in order to adequately compensate or accommodate the infrastructure required to connect the traffic signals there.
Okay. All right. You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
Move that we approve agenda item 2026-047 for a resolution to approve change order 4 to the existing contract with Vertical Earth, Inc. as it relates to the Mount Vernon Johnson Ferry Corridor Improvement Project, TS 191, and to authorize the city manager to execute the revised contract documents.
Motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll support. I'll second.
A motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2026-047, the change order 4 to the existing contract with Vertical Earth related to the Mount Vernon Johnson Ferry Corridor Improvement. Any discussion? Ms. Mueller.
So, Marty, back to, like, Mayor had the same question I did, but if we knew that we were going to have 3 2-inch conduits, that's never going to fit into a 5-inch bore, right? So how is it that, why are we responsible for this if they did it and they missed it in the design?
In this case, what the contractor is providing the city is what's required to execute the project. So regardless of not included in the design originally, now ultimately defined as the adequate size, et cetera, what the city ultimately gains out of this is the full work required to complete the project.
Do we have, will we have access to run something else through that other conduit at another time? If we have to, I don't know.
In this case, it's not there. So this is the extra work required to deliver the conduit as appropriate.
But in the future, there would be room for something else if we had to run something through that conduit.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Mr. Roberts.
Marty, is this the same proposal that came up at the last council meeting?
No, sir.
It's not?
No. Then I think at the last council meeting, I believe we discussed a CEI change order with Jacobs Engineering.
Well, it was about the bore and the what we're discussing here in this one. It was the same thing. It sounds like the same thing. That's why I asked the question, if this is not the same thing we asked the last council
No,
meeting.
we had not taken this one forward before.
It just seems like a lot of money. We've already given them a lot of money already to do
Right.
this project. Now they're coming in asking for more and more money. How
Right.
many times have they asked for more money since this project started?
Well, in the case of this would be change order number 4. If we do the math compared to the base price that we pay or awarded to the construction contractor, this will add now somewhere in the order of about 4% total cost added to the overall contract price. When you look at a significant amount of underground work, which most of this pricing, if you look at the other change orders, were associated with underground work, be it water lines, other buried utility lines, stormwater, et cetera. 4% is a pretty reasonable ballpark for change orders on a construction project.
Seems like if they made a bid to do the project initially, then they come back for more and more money, and this is the fourth time around.
And the bid did not contemplate this work as sized. So therefore, the additional work is required. The pricing provided delivers the additional work required.
Mr. Martin, let me see if I can understand this a little bit. You do and this is a huge project. You've got a lot of underground utilities. You've got a lot of things underground that you don't encounter until you start construction. Is that correct?
That's correct. And to that end, if I could add, a significant amount of underground utility exploration was conducted. City paid for it. Consultant conducted that work. Subsurface underground evaluation, level A service. We actually vacked down to many of the utility lines out there to appropriately locate them laterally, vertically, et cetera, and size them as well along the way. Again, even with that, your knowledge isn't perfect of what's underground. Yes, sir.
We've run into that. We have a lot of rock and other underground challenges in the construction here in Sandy Springs that maybe a lot of other jurisdictions, most jurisdictions in Metro Atlanta would have similar challenges. I mean, we ran into it up on the Springway when we ran into the rock in the lake that nobody knew was there. So these are things that happen largely because of the topography that we are facing in this area. Would that be an accurate statement?
Topography, and I'll classify it as unforeseen conditions. For instance, if you notice, one of the change orders had the change from our stormwater pipe to a round section to elliptical pipe, as described. Why did we go to elliptical pipe? We needed to buy some space to separate utilities once we found that our stormwater system needed some space that a round pipe wouldn't fit in adjacent to other utilities as they were ultimately located on the project side. So we bought a little space, flattening the pipe, elliptical pipe in that case, to do that.
Would it be fair to say that this is fairly consistent with most of our projects that have a lot of underground utility and other work that we just can't know for sure everything that's there?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Especially in a major roadway reconstruction, which is what this project is. And along with that major roadway reconstruction, we shifted roadway alignments. We moved the curb line. With that curb line, and what instigates a lot of the utility adjustments we've had to make thus far is now your stormwater system chases the new curb alignment. It's now introduced into where utilities weren't before. Now you have to accommodate all there. So,
okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Chinsky.
This may be a question more for you, Mayor, or for Eden, but so this is a $55,000 change order. What is the city manager's signing authority compared to what comes to council?
$200,000.
So why is this before us?
Because if you read in here, it adds on to some prior ones, so the sum of all of them brings it back to council.
Okay, thank you.
So each time we exceed the $200,000 mark, we bring it to mayor and council, whatever that cumulative is at that point.
Any other discussion? Mr. Roberts.
So, Marty, I want to get back to the last council meeting back on the 3rd of February. What company was it that was asking for the different bore at that meeting?
Look back now. I don't recollect.
Because it seems like the this company is asking for the same thing because they didn't
It was-
calculate ahead.
It was Jacobs, I'm sorry, Councilman. So
Yeah.
the last change order was for construction inspection services, and that was for Jacobs to go and inspect the work that Vertical Earth has done or is doing. And this is for Vertical Earth to actually do the work.
Okay, it's two different companies asking for more money, correct?
But for two different scopes of work.
In the case of the CEI that we presented last
I got
time,
it.
that was for the extended period of time that they'll provide inspection services to the city for that.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-047, a resolution approving change order 4 to the existing contract with Vertical Earth as it relates to the Mount Vernon Johnson Ferry Corridor Improvement Project. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-48, consideration of an ordinance to authorize modifications to truck route ordinance and designation of truck route network, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mayor and council, good evening. In a work session on February 3rd, 2026, staff provided to council information on the current state of the city's truck route ordinance, in this case, Chapter 58, Article 2, truck routes, Sections 58-31 through 5841 of our Code of Ordinances. This code section provides restrictions for the use of trucks within the city to include maximum vehicle weights, where and how long trucks can park, where trucks can be stored, the time of day that deliveries outside of truck routes can be made, and penalties for violation. Staff presented on several of the potential shortcomings of the ordinance that made the ordinance challenging to enforce, to include the lack of an accompanying list of and map of approved truck routes, burdensome time restrictions, and requirement that truck route list and maps be adopted biannually. The intent of adopting the network is to help ease the issue of trucks using local streets for reasons other than local deliveries or pickups. Without a network, more streets are allowable for use in the final stretch before a delivery or initial stretch after pickup. By adopting the network, the city hopes to give truck operations more direction on the types of streets that are more appropriate for trucks and advising the minimal use of local neighborhood streets. Modifications to the ordinance are recommended to clarify the ordinance intent for enforcement purposes, remove time of day delivery restrictions, and remove the requirement to update the truck route list and map biannually. To comply with sections 5832 and 5833, staff recommends adoption of a truck route map and list. In an attempt to incorporate best practices, staff reviewed guidance from the Atlanta Regional Commission, and as well, criteria and considerations for truck routes include connectivity to highways and truck routes in neighboring jurisdictions, consideration of adjacent land uses and zoning, roadway classification, and lane capacity and pavement strength. Other items noted at the time of that presentation at the work session is that the following state-owned and maintained facilities are already designated for truck use within the city of Sandy Springs. Those include Interstate 285 for its entirety within the city, State Route 9 for its entirety within the city, State Route 140 for its entirety within the city, Holcomb Bridge Road, and State Route 400 from Interstate 285 interchange to the Roswell city limits. At the time of the presentation to Mayor and Council in the work session, additional routes on city-owned streets were recommended for consideration as in incorporation into the city's truck route ordinance. Those included Johnson Ferry Road from the Cobb County line to Abernathy Road from Johnson Ferry Road to Mount Vernon Highway to Abernathy Road to the Dunwoody city limits. Those recommendations in the interest of connecting established truck routes already in Cobb County, and again, established truck routes already in Dunwoody. Dunwoody Place from North Ridge Road to Roswell Road, State Route 9, the logic there being that is the city's sole industrially zoned facility on that route, that being the Coca-Cola plant on Dunwoody Place, and North Ridge Road from Roswell Road to State Route 400, that being the shortest connection point between the State Route 9 and Georgia 400 State Route. As was also a part of that discussion, it was recognized that most truck operators want to stay on limited access highways unless they have a local destination or those roads are experiencing extreme delays from a crash or other incident. If truck traffic increases on locally controlled designated routes, it will more likely come from local streets that the city is seeking to protect and not from the interstate system. Staff also recommends eliminating the time restrictions, as residents often need deliveries or pickups during working hours, especially with the recent propensity of e-commerce deliveries to private residents. If adopted, the city staff will use our working relationships with Apple, Google, and other navigation technology companies to coordinate integrating the updates into the commonly used platforms available to truckers. The staff will also share the map with the Georgia Department of Transportation, the Atlanta Regional Commission, Federal Highway Administration, and other partners. With that, Mayor and Council, any questions?
All right. Before we ask for motions, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and defend the staff a little bit. They did what they're supposed to do, which is use the things that Marty outlined, the guidance that we get. The reason we're doing truck routes is because right now every street in Sandy Springs is a truck route. We have a truck ordinance, but we can't enforce it because we've never designated what the truck routes would be. So to protect all the other streets, we've got to designate truck routes. Staff did what they're supposed to do, which is looked at the guidance, connecting points to points, and so on. It's up to this body to make the final decision. So that's my point of personal privilege. Now I'll ask if there's a motion.
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve Agenda Item 2026-48 to approve an ordinance to authorize modifications to the truck route ordinance and designation of a truck route network with the truck route map attachment substituted to only include the existing state and federal truck routes of Interstate 285 for its entirety within the city, State Route 9, Roswell Road for its entirety within the city, State Route 140, Holcomb Bridge Road for its entirety within the city, and State Route 400 from Interstate 285 interchange to the Roswell city limits, and to exclude the city-owned roadway segments proposed in the agenda package.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion?
I do.
Ms. Mueller.
We're all doctors tonight.
I'm
I like
doctoring
that.
everybody tonight.
I like that.
It's been a long day.
I like that. So first, I'm very supportive of the administrative cleanup. I think that makes the ordinance more clear and hopefully more enforceable. I think by adopting and publishing a truck route beyond what is already acknowledged in the carrier freight GPS systems would actually officially designate and promote that we have a corridor that accepts trucks. Right now, I don't think that we have a resident-centered case for expanding the map for people that live along the roads. And absent that, I really not prepared to support, obviously, by the motion that I made. But I just want to address a couple of points that have come up since the February 3rd meeting. The first one is, yes, we do have truck activity today. It is local deliveries. But that's different from publishing an official truck route. Allowed access does not equal a truck route, and a truck route is what we designate and sign and publish. Even if most trucks prefer interstates, publishing additional corridors gives routing platforms another option when congestion hits. I can't talk tonight. If the concern about trucks, we've talked about fanning out into the neighborhoods. The solution is clear in its restrictions as given, and so it doesn't automatically expand the route list. The fact that a road was improved automatically doesn't mean it's designated as a truck route. I mean, designation is a policy choice that we make based on our community and our impacts to our neighborhoods. And we don't need to do a map for enforcement, but we do need to solve by adopting a map that we can enforce, which is the state federal routes without expanding additional in the city. So with that, I just have a few questions. And the first one had to do with signage. And so what's our plan for signage and for whatever's adopted? How will we put those up? Is that going to be mainly at the entrances to the city or throughout, or how will we do that?
And Kristen, please correct me if I'm wrong, but since, as proposed, this ordinance would reflect only the approved state routes, the state signs its routes. Therefore, since there are no local or city routes required to be signed here, there would be no signage in the city of Sandy Springs.
So we wouldn't have any to say no trucks allowed beyond this point or
No,
something?
ma'am.
No, we wouldn't do that.
By contrast,
Okay.
the ordinances envision signs approved truck routes, because every single street in Sandy Springs would be a no truck route other than the approved truck routes.
Okay. And then when we do enforcement, is it going to be complaint-based, targeted, like for hotspots or residential, or just, when problems happen, then we might ask for a bill of lading or something?
I think in this case, I would defer to police for how they might opt to enforce, but it probably, I will make some conjectures. It's going to be more so on a complaint basis, a nuisance basis.
Okay.
There's a perception of inappropriate use of a route within the city that would warrant further police follow-up.
Well, I would also assume if a police officer sees a truck improperly going down the road, Mr. Lindstrom, you would cite it, correct?
Yes, sir, we would do it like Mark said.
So if the truck deviates from the truck routes and they're not doing a local delivery, which are still allowed, then they would be cited if your officers were present and saw the violation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks.
Mayor Paul?
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Marty, a point of clarification here. You mentioned the Coca-Cola plant on Dunwoody Place. Right across the street from the Coca-Cola plant is a small one-story industrial facility that gets trucks in there periodically as well. Right now, trucks leave 400, they drive down Dunwoody Place, they deliver to a local location, Coca-Cola plant, the buildings across the street from them. They're allowed to do that because they're making a pickup or a delivery locally.
Yes, sir.
So the desire to make Dunwoody Place a truck route, and here's the issue I have with it, you're showing it to be the entire Dunwoody Place, which means a truck could technically try and go to Roswell, somewhere in Roswell or further up, could get off at Georgia 400, go over to Dunwoody Place, drive up Dunwoody Place, all the way to Roswell Road and continue north on Roswell Road, up over the river, etc. That's what this allows. If we don't put Dunwoody Place on there, that doesn't mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't mean Coca-Cola still can't get their
They
deliveries.
can still operate, and the trucks can make deliveries and pickups at Coca-Cola just as today.
Just as today. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Not
that's
in
what I
violation
thought.
of the ordinance. Same for the office park across the street, the industrial park there.
So this is why I'm not a fan of the Dunwoody Place being a truck route, because then that connects 400 to Roswell Road. Now all of a sudden you have an approved shortcut, essentially,
Yes,
that takes you up in the Roswell and beyond. It's no longer a local delivery issue. It now becomes a thoroughfare. And because of the number of residents along there, I just didn't think that was a good idea. So I'd rather not put Dunwoody Place on here just for those reasons.
Any other discussion? Dr. Kelly.
I just want to quickly.
The real doctor.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll see. I just want to quickly, I want to just take a moment. I want to give a kudos to you, Councilwoman Mueller, because at least from my perspective, you more or less, we found out this was going to come up for a vote Friday night. And you literally just spent the last 4 days organizing communities, your constituents, and keeping in regular contact with us. And you know what I mean? Just to kind of give us a sense of what's going on and getting everybody to contact us. This is really important, especially considering the short time frame. So I just want to give you give you that publicly. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Chinsky.
I'll echo what Dr. Kelly said. And also, I wanted to say thank you to Sandy Springs residents for all of your outreach to us. My last count is we got somewhere between 40 and 50 emails a person. We've gotten numerous well-researched public comments tonight. There's a few extra people in the audience, maybe a couple students who may not be old enough to vote yet. And so while we have this captive audience and however many people are streaming, I also want to throw out there that we are in the process of updating our transportation master plan. And we are about to embark on an update to our comprehensive plan. So there's obviously a lot of energy and care about our neighborhood. So please continue to reach out and engage in these processes and get your other neighbors and community members involved, because this is when we function the best. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-048, the ordinance to authorize modifications to the truck route ordinances and designation of truck route network, as in the motion by Ms. Mueller. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to mayor and council reports. Some of you saw me come rushing in here, which is not my normal habit, but I was down at the Capitol at the request of the Georgia Municipal Association, one of three mayors and one city manager, to talk about the various tax ideas that are floating around that would have significant impact on the city of Sandy Springs and our future revenues. And so because the legislature ran late today, the hearing kept getting pushed back to 4 o'clock. But the chairman of the committee agreed to because two mayors had city council meetings tonight. They allowed the cities to go first. It's House Bill 1114 and House Resolution 1116. I encourage you all to read those bills. They would have a profound impact on the ability of the city of Sandy Springs and our revenues. Working with Fulton County tax assessors, we determined that the bill as it currently is, and it's still a work in progress. Actually, the chairman of the Full Ways and Means Committee left the dais to come back and talk to me about this. It's still a work in progress. But as it's drafted right now, it would be about a 12.5% hit to our budget, and for us that's about $19.5 million. City of Atlanta, $122 million, and that's a story that will be repeated all across the state and local governments. Not only cities, counties, and school boards would be affected. As I testified to the committee today, Sandy Springs did this long before, and in fact, I accused them of stealing our idea. We've had a cap on our millage rate and a cap on our assessments well before the legislature got involved in discussing about this. There was they chuckled a little bit, but they're like me, I guess. If they see a good idea, they'll steal it. But it has a profound impact on us. I've been down there a couple of times trying to, through GMA and being part of the Legislative Policy Council, as well as being asked to go testify today. This is one of several tax bills that are going through the legislature right now. Most of them deal with income tax. This is the only one that really deals with us. It's the House. It's the House of Representatives and the Speaker's number one priority. The goal is to end all property taxes by 2032.
On homesteaded property.
Homestead. Knew I had the wrong word. Homestead exempt. Homesteads, and a lot of cities, that's their bedroom communities. They don't have industrial or commercial, and most of their revenue comes from houses. I understand I curse myself every year when I have to write my check to the city, the county, and school board. But as my counsel to the legislature today was, look, some of these changes do need to be made. The burden that a lot of homeowners have in paying their property taxes is not insignificant. But please allow the cities to not bear the full burden, cities, counties, and school boards, but I'm talking for the cities, so I'm going to say cities. Don't force the cities to carry the full burden of the reduction in the revenue. Give us alternatives. If you want to cut that, I'm fine. I don't care where the revenue comes from. Just give us the options, because I highlighted all of the great things we've accomplished. The ability that our fire department has made in saving cardiac care, or cardiac attack victims, and we have done a great job. We've invested in ambulance responses and equipping our fire department with the ability to get there quickly, and we've trained over 800 people a year in CPR to keep those people viable, and it's saved lives. I talked about our police department and the fact that the cost, as the state has raised the salaries of state patrol and other law enforcement at the state level, forces us to compete. Now we've got ICE dangling $50,000 signing bonuses in front of our officers. That's a temptation. It's hard enough. It's hard enough to get police officers in today's environment. To make us less competitive doesn't really hurt. It doesn't really help us. Another factor that would have a real impact, T-SPLOST ultimately will go away. And I laid out the fact that for years, Georgia and our local governments have underinvested in T-SPLOST. And T-SPLOST, and it's available today because of the voters of Sandy Springs voted it strong enough to overcome some opposition in other parts of Fulton County. And we have it today, and we're making a real difference in mobility and congestion reduction and all that infrastructure that would not happen without T-SPLOST. And they want us to be able to do, to not take it away, but redeploy that for operations. So that takes money away from that. They are giving us some access to some sales tax revenues, but we have to share it with the county and the school boards. It really doesn't increase it doesn't really replace that. They allow us to make assessments for public safety and others services. So I'm not sure how that's much better. We'll still be charging homeowners the cost of the property tax or the police assessment, the fire assessment, stormwater assessment. All these services we're providing, instead of being put on, would be a special assessment. And so it's going to raise a lot of questions about, well, why am I getting this special assessment? I thought my property taxes went away. So it's confusing, and nobody really knows for sure how this is all going to work out. So I raise that just to make you aware and the public aware. Please pay attention to this. I'm not opposed to, and nor is GMA or others, opposed to property tax reform, but I am opposed to taking it, having somebody else. It's easy to be able to go cut somebody else's taxes, cut somebody else's revenue. The good news is we've got, as I say, the chairman of the committee came back to see me and talk to me about this. So we've got an open pipeline, and I just said, look, we want to work this out. We want to find a solution. If we want to cut homestead exemptions and reduce the taxes on homeowners, I'm all for it. But don't make us cut services in the process, services that save lives, services that are crucial to the well-being of our city. It would have a real impact on our ability to provide the services that our people have come to expect. So I say that to you to just alert you to what's going on and pay attention to it and get involved, talk to your legislators. I've already had conversations with our delegation, and those are continuing. A couple of other things going on happened recently. Arts Beat, which was here in the Sandy Springs Arts Foundation, does a great job of getting our schools and kids involved in art, and particularly performing arts. And they had their Arts Beat program here a weekend or so ago. The City Springs Theater Company's gala was this week. They raised a good bit of money for their program. Last night I went to the Irish American event here in Sandy Springs, celebrating the 200th anniversary of the Irish people being in the United States, and they listed all the founders of America who were Irish. So I was proud to be there, and part of that, I had a Guinness in celebration. Probably shouldn't say that, but heck, it's the Irish, what they care. Anyways, to kick off to the St. Patrick's Day, it was not only 250th anniversary for the country that they were celebrating, but a kickoff to St. Patrick's Day. They are getting really engaged. We've got the High Kings, which is a great Irish folk band, coming February the 28th, and they are out hawking tickets and trying to get as many Irish. Whether you're real Irish or fake Irish, on St. Patrick's Day, everybody's Irish, so they want everybody to participate. So those are the things I've been involved with since our last meeting. Anybody else? Dr. Kelly.
I just want to give one more kudos to our Public Works Department for the recent North End Boulevard open house that was held in my district up in the North End at the middle school. I received from my constituents a great deal of positive feedback. We all know that that's not always the case up there, and that's not always the case with transportation projects. So it just speaks to the quality of the planning. And I also just want to say that that project, together with, what Parks and Recreation has planned and what our economic development team is working on, it is being noticed in the community, and it's. I just want to acknowledge that progress. So thank you on behalf of, my constituents.
Ms. Mueller?
So I also attended the open house. I think it was fairly well attended, and I think staff always does a great job with the board. So that was a good thing. Art Beat, I did go to that. If no one has ever done that, you should go and see what our kids do. Is amazing. It's absolutely one of my favorite programs to attend every year. And then I had a chance to read to the TLC preschool, and I read, If You Go With Your Goat to Vote. So that was a really cute a story. And after I was done, just as kind of funny as this role, one child said, "That was so funny. I loved it." And another one with a serious face said, "I didn't think it was funny at all." So I think it just shows that you will always have differing opinions. So I really appreciated that. And then I'm going to say a belated birthday to Mr. John Paulson.
He's trying not to acknowledge those.
That's it.
He doesn't really want the public to know. All right, anybody else?
Yeah.
Ms. Ford.
Just a couple comments. One is that I know our constituents are interested in supporting our schools in Sandy Springs. And so to that end, I'll share that our two Fulton County School Board representatives, Dr. Moranci and Katie Gregory, are hosting sessions this week up here in person. Tomorrow and Thursday, if anyone is interested in attending, and I'm happy to share that information if you need it. My second comment is that one of my favorite professional phrases is, "Those who do good get to do more." So, Eden, kudos to you and the staff. I think all of this commentary about innovation is just our way of saying that you deliver, and now we want more. Do more, right?
Anybody else? All right, Ms. Carlisle.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is a summary for December 2025 unaudited financials. We are at 50% of the fiscal year. Revenues are at 69.16%, and expenditures are at 43.67%. All departments continue to operate within approved budgets. This concludes your report for December 2025.
Any questions of the Chief Financial Officer? All right. Is there we need an executive session for real estate and litigation. Is there a motion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we suspend regular order and move into executive session for the purposes of real estate and litigation.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Chinsky. Any discussion?
Are we going to do anything after this thing, after executive session?
No, nothing will happen, and I'll make sure we make that clear. But thank you for reminding me. Any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the executive session. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are in executive session. We will go into executive session, and we will come back out here and simply return to regular order and immediately adjourn. There will be no further business conducted this evening. All right.
Listen, I'm not arguing with you. I just don't like work that we currently have.
No, I know. We got, well, we'll,
Paul, I move we close on the executive session, back in regular order.
all right, Mr. Paulson moves to return to regular order. Is there a second?
Second.
Paulson, by Mueller. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on returning to regular order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, Mr. Adjournment.
I move approve adjournment.
Mr. Paulson moves adjournment. Second. By Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 9:15.